So Shreyas, tell us about yourself.
Sir, I am a resident of Bhagalpur. I did my graduation in chemical engineering from IIT Delhi. I passed out in 2018. I've been preparing for civil services since then. I like writing poems, reading fantasy novels, as well as listening to music. I believe that I am a hardworking guy, and uh, if I show dedication and consistency towards the work, then I achieve great successes in it.
Okay, great.
Very good.
Tell us about your strengths and weaknesses. Some 5 strengths and maybe 3 weaknesses.
So if I list my strengths, the first would be, I believe I am a hardworking guy. Second, I believe, sir, I am dedicated towards a cause. If I believe that this is what I should focus my attention to, then I can show dedication towards it. I make friends easily, sir, because people think that I am trustworthy and they confide many things in me.
Some weaknesses? Do you
Yes,
have
sir.
some weaknesses?
Yes, sir.
Maybe 1 or 2?
Yes, sir. So first would be, I sometimes find it difficult to balance between the mental and physical aspects, and therefore during the preparation time, I could not take that much time to devote to my body, and therefore I suffered from some sickness as well during the preparation phase. And so sometimes I tend to get stuck in the past, and therefore it affects the mental peace to some extent, but I am working on that right now, sir.
Okay. So from your DAF, I find that you had an excellent performance, academic performance,
Thank you, sir.
performance in 10th and 12th.
Thank you, sir.
Then there was a dip during your graduation. So something was disturbing or something went wrong?
No, sir. So during my school days and during even the 12th examination, I had focused mostly on academics, and I could not take out that much time for other activities and interests, including writing, reading, other kind of fiction, etc. However, the college environment gave me an opportunity, sir, to explore my other interests such as sports, debating, other cultural activities, and therefore in order to balance academics as well as the other interests, the academic performance, it dipped a bit, sir.
Okay. You are a graduate chemical engineer.
Yes,
am I
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So tell me how chemical engineering can be relevant for administration.
So chemical engineering is very relevant for administration. As a chemical engineer, sir, I learned many problem solving skills, and I developed a critical mindset, which I believe is very important for an administrator if he has to take a wholesome view of things and to give innovative solutions to the modern day problems. Moreover, sir, in our various courses, we learned the application of technologies to various fields of industries, such as the chemicals industry, the metallurgy industry, etc. And I believe, sir, this will help me to better understand the economy of a place and to find what is ailing it and to take steps to revive it. Moreover,
Okay, go ahead.
and moreover, sir, the coming age is going to be of a digital age, the 4th industrial revolution. And therefore, sir, I believe the skills that I have learned as a chemical engineer would help me immensely in dealing with those challenges.
Okay, 1 or 2 questions on chemical ops. Right? Tell me what are smart materials?
So smart materials are new age materials which have a wide range of applications in various fields, and due to their properties, their physical and chemical properties, they are termed as the next generation materials in place of the existing materials such as plastics or the current metals which we are
Can
using.
you tell something about the characteristics which make it a smart material?
Yes, sir. Sir, the strength of the material is very high. Moreover, sir, the flexibility and the tensile strength, if we go, then that is also high compared to other materials, sir.
Nanomaterial?
Yes, sir.
Tell us something about nanomaterials.
So nanomaterials are formed of particles which are of extremely small size, ranging to 10 to the power minus 9 meter. And because they are so small, sir, they find application in various fields such as agriculture, industries, water purification, etc. and they are termed, it is believed that nanotechnology, sir, would be the next biggest thing in the world.
Okay.
Yes,
Nitrogen pollution. Have you heard of nitrogen pollution?
Yes, sir.
And tell us something about it.
Sir, nitrogen pollution is an increase in the concentration of nitrogen in the atmosphere due to anthropogenic emissions. So, sir, most of our fossil fuels which we burn, they contain oxides of sulfur and nitrogen. And due to these vehicular emissions, the fossil fuel burning, as well as industrial pollution, these nitrogen oxides, they go to the atmosphere and they create, they pollute the atmosphere. Sir.
So why this area has to be addressed separately? Pollution?
Yes, sir.
All the pollutants are being studied. Why
Yes, sir.
nitrogen pollution is an area of concern?
Sir, I believe in the last few years, nitrogen pollution has been a concern for us because there has been a unprecedented increase in the nitrogen concentration in the atmosphere, sir. And so therefore the level of while the other pollutants have gone up by 1 or 2 times in the concentration in atmosphere, nitrogen has gone up by 8 to 9 times.
So, you have read today's newspaper.
Yes, sir.
Did you read about the decision of the Supreme Court that reservation is not a fundamental right?
Sir, I read the headlines, sir. I could not go into the details.
So even if you haven't seen the content,
Yes,
still
sir.
can you say, means, since there is a provision of reservation in Article 16, Clause 4,
Yes, sir.
chapter of fundamental rights, so why do you think the Supreme Court might have declared it not to be a fundamental right? And what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of reservation? Is it poverty alleviation?
Sir, reservation is a means of social justice wherein the historically marginalized sections who are economically and socially backward and who have been on the fringes of society are given opportunities so that they can get into the mainstream of society and can compete at an equal level as compared to everyone else. However, sir, over many years, the Supreme Court has observed that the benefits of reservation are have been limited to few people, even among the sections which are intended to be benefited from it. And therefore, sir, I believe that the Supreme Court has given this decision that reservation is not a fundamental right.
So is it objective removal of social and educational backwardness or all types of backwardness? Only social and educational or any type of backwardness can be eliminated?
Yes, sir, any kind of backwardness can be alleviated. However, sir, the roots lie mostly in social and educational backwardness.
So what's this multiple national identity card? Have you heard of it?
No, sir.
Multiple national identity card, it has been related to NRC also. It was probably started in 2003. You haven't heard about it?
No, sir.
No problem. So how do you think secularism and uniform civil code are connected? Is secularism possible without UCC, without uniform civil code?
So secularism has been one of the basic ethos of our Indian culture since the very starting. So we have always believed in the concept of Sarvdham Sambhav. And so uniform civil code is one of the directive principles enlisted in the constitution, which emphasizes that the government must try to bring in a uniform civil code. However, sir, in one of its judgments in last year, the Supreme Court observed that, and even the Law Commission recommended, sir, that the uniform civil code is not necessary for secularism, and secularism can exist in India even if the uniform civil code is not brought. Rather, what steps should be taken is that the personal laws should be brought in line with the basic constitutional principles. And even if there are separate personal laws for different religions, then they should be allowed to exist.
So there is a relation between secularism and multiculturalism. Good.
You are very much fond of reading poems and fantasy fiction.
Yes, ma'am.
And then define fantasy fictions.
And fantasy fiction is a genre of fiction wherein a new world is created. So it employs world building as one of its major central elements. Moreover, elements from real world are picked up, and they are interwoven to create a totally new landscape, a new culture, new languages, as well as new people are also introduced, such as dwarfs, elves, giants, etc. So all these are elements of fantasy fiction.
So, name any two fictions which you have read.
Ma'am, the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling and the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss.
So, what is the difference between the fantasy and the real world?
Ma'am, the world which exists in fantasy. So first of all, ma'am, it almost always has elements of magic. For example, in Harry Potter, we have the wizardry school. In Kingkiller Chronicles, there are metals and there are things like almancy, etc., which are totally in magic and which we don't find in our real world. So, ma'am, this is the basic difference. And ma'am, also the characters often are not human. So in Harry Potter, we have characters like dragons. We have.
So how we will use, what is the use of reading this type of writing, this type of fantasy fictions, etc. In the real world? There is too much difference between the both. So how you will correlate these both things?
Ma'am, while the characters and the world as such is not found in the real world, however, ma'am, the situations and the dilemma which the characters face is very much present in the real world also. And therefore, ma'am, the various decisions which we make and the various paths which they take, they find resonance in the real world, and it leads to imbibing the values like leadership, courage, etc.
Okay. What about the poems? You write poems?
Yes, ma'am, I write poems.
How many poems you will tell?
Ma'am, including both Hindi and English, 60 poems.
तो हिंदी में भी लिखते हैं?
Yes, ma'am.
कोई याद है? कुछ दो चार पंक्तियाँ?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, this poem is about heartbreak and how does one deal with it.
Okay.
So this goes like, कुछ अलग था तुम में, इस अलगाव ने था मुझे पुकारा, रूप चातुर्य से परिपूर्ण थी तुम, फिर भी गुमान नहीं था तुम्हारे मुखमंडल का सितारा, किंतु तुम भी खो गई कृत्रिम महलों में, छोड़कर मुझे क्यों बेबस और बेचारा, फिर कभी कहकर दिलासा देता हूँ दिल को, और ढूंढने निकल पड़ता हूँ किसी अन्य तट का किनारा.
क्या बात है? एक बात बताइए, ये रियल है या ये भी फैंटेसी में ही है?
Ma'am, as a writer, it is often difficult to distinguish between reality and.
Since your hobby is reading fantasy fiction, although I'm supposed to ask question on economics, but just I have one query.
Yes.
Do you know the form of anthology?
Anthology?
Anthology.
Sir, an anthology is a collection of short stories. Sir.
So have you read any anthology?
Yes, sir.
Can you name anyone?
Sir, I have read the collected short stories of O. Henry, of Saki, and also of Lewis Carroll. Sir.
Not of any Indian writer?
Sir, I have read stories of R.K. Narayan, but not in a collected form, sir.
Okay, okay. Now coming to economics, since the budget has been presented, and along with the budget, there was one report which is called Finance Commission report. So 15th Finance Commission has given its recommendations, and many of the recommendations have been accepted. You must have read two words, horizontal distribution and vertical distribution. Do you know that?
So vertical distribution is the distribution of revenues from the center to the states, while horizontal distribution is when all the similar category states are placed in, are seen as one block, and then their devolution is decided.
And when we talk about the horizontal distribution or devolution, whatsoever word we use, there are a number of parameters. So which one gets more important among all those parameters?
So the population gets the highest criteria.
Highest one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now coming to budget, you must have heard about that 0.5% deviation in the fiscal deficit.
Yes.
So do you know about FRBM Act?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
So, sir, the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act was introduced in 2003, so that our principles of fiscal federalism and adhering to strict fiscal prudence is seen. And so, sir, it has fixed targets for inflation. So it is envisaged that sorry sir, not inflation, it is envisaged that the
Fiscal.
debt to GDP ratio would eventually come down for center to 40% and for states to 60%. And also it envisages that the fiscal deficit would stay in a manageable bracket so that the future generations would not have to suffer the brunt of it. So,
Okay. Do we follow monetization of deficit, or do we follow deficit bridging by borrowing money?
sir, I believe we followed deficit bridging by borrowing money.
Borrowing money.
Yes.
So, can you remember that how much we are going to borrow this fiscal? I mean, the next fiscal. This budget has given that number, and after this 0.5% deviation from the FRBM target, that's a 3.3 to 3.8, and then 3.5 from 3%.
Yes.
So, what is the quantum of borrowing which we are going to do this year? And there is a one interesting factor this fiscal which we are going to adopt. So, can you tell me about these two things?
Sir, I'm not exactly sure of the quantum of borrowing.
Okay, so second thing about the interesting feature which government is going to adopt this year
Sir, in respect of the
in the respect of borrowing, and it is related with last year concept also.
so the norms for FDI and FPI have been liberalized so that more foreign portfolio investors can come and invest in India. Sir.
In what?
Sir, in the treasury bills.
Not in treasury bills.
in-
That's the second one.
Yes, sir. In the
Government
sovereign-
securities.
Yes, government securities.
So that's a one feature which they are going to adopt. My last question to you: there was one remark by International Monetary Fund chief economist Geeta Gopinath, and she said that the world slowdown in global growth is being driven by Indian economy.
Yes.
So can we explain that?
So, India has been one of the fastest growing major economies in the past 5 to 6 years. And so, because India is seen, India, China, Brazil, etc. are seen as the face of the emerging world, and because the advanced economies such as US and EU are growing at a rate of only 1 to 2%, therefore, sir, because India's growth rate, if India's growth rate would slow down to 5%, then I believe that the remark was made in that context that the world growth rate would also be decided to a large extent by India's growth rate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So after completing your BTech, you opted sociology as optional for this examination.
Yes, sir.
Why so?
Sir, I was chemical engineering, sir, was not present as an optional subject. So, sir, I could not choose it. So I had to choose among other optional subjects. When I saw the syllabus of various optional subjects, sir, the syllabus of sociology appealed to me the most because various institutions of society, sir, such as religion, politics, work and economic life, etc., are present in the paper 1 discipline of sociology. And in paper 2, sir, the various realities of Indian social life, such as caste system, marriage, family, religion, etc. So I believe, sir, I opted sociology to get a
Okay.
better understanding.
Can you tell us what is chemistry of society?
Sir, I believe the chemistry of society means the level of interaction between the various members of society and how these interactions then lead to formation of institutions which lead to the progress of society or the envisaging of society which we see as now, sir.
Okay. So we have seen many facets of this socialism, and you have all studied this socialism, capitalism and Marxism. Can you tell us in a very brief what is two major difference between Marxism and socialism?
So socialism is an economic concept, sir, which believes that the resources must be distributed in such a way that the basic rights of everyone are fulfilled. However, it does not say that everyone should get equal amount of resources. Whereas, sir, in Marxism, it is believed that there would be no state, and everyone would have a right to pursue whatever occupation one likes, and a complete equality in all aspects is conceptualized in Marxism.
Okay. And can you tell us some similarity between Gandhian philosophy and Marxism? Except they don't both not believe in the state. Except this, any point?
So both Gandhian and Marxian philosophy, they finally emphasize on the human consciousness and the need to fulfill it. So they believe that the ultimate purpose of this existence is that one's consciousness or what one's desires are should be reconciled with the person, and he should be empowered enough to achieve those desires or achieve those goals. So.
Okay, just suppose being an IIT Delhi student, you know, a lot of subsidy and lot of expectations a nation have from the IITs, but the person kind you who are just completing your BTech, not pursuing that the same genre and not higher education, but come in this generalist field. So you don't think this is a kind of brain drain if you put your ideology, because in 21st century this is very science driven is, and we need many R&Ds and many programs. Your Prime Minister is seeking for all startup innovation and all, but we are seeking for such kind of 10 to 6 job, 9 to 8 job. So how do you think, and how can you justify your this?
Sorry sir, I don't believe that it is a brain drain because the next generation is going to be a generation of technology, and sir, I believe that the administration needs people who have a knowledge of technology, technical and technological aspects, so that technology can be integrated with administration. And I believe sir, the various values and various concepts which I have learnt in IIT, I believe they are very relevant and very applicable to administrative field as well. And sir, therefore I believe that even as an administrator sir, I can take steps to promote R&D and science as a discipline, and also take steps to inculcate scientific temper among the children of our country, sir.
Okay, my last question is, just suppose you become IAS and you are DM of a particular district in your state, and one program, obviously all program under the district magistrate. So just suppose Manrega is going on, and when you just realize the things that the corruption is very much in this field, and they have the all corrupted people have very good nexus with the politicians. Even your the head, the HOD is also involved in that. So as you say, how can you control this with use of technology, with use of science to reduce the corruption?
Sir, technology can play a major role in reducing corruption, because one of the major reasons for corruption has been the human-to-human interface, which leads to a large amount of discretion in the hand of administrative personnel. So sir, integration of technology will reduce this human-to-human interface and would lead to being the process more streamlined. Therefore, the funds would be disbursed directly in the bank account. Moreover sir, there would be efficient grievance redressal mechanisms through which anyone can file their complaints online, and proper steps can be taken. Moreover, the status of the complaints can also be checked. Also sir, the scheme can be monitored in a better way, because the amount of funds which has been disbursed, the amount of funds which have been utilized, etc., and all the beneficiaries who have received the benefits. So it will all be present on the online portal, and therefore sir, the scope of corruption will be reduced to a very high extent.
Okay, you are from Bihar, and the state is total liquor ban, and our DPSP also say like this liquor ban issue. So why not the whole nation? We are not here for the selling liquors. We are the Indians, Buddha and Gandhian nation. So you don't think this is very good model, the very good case study of Bihar we can implement in all nation, and we should ban this liquor?
So the liquor ban is a very commendable step. However sir, liquor and alcohol forms a very sizable part of a state's revenue, and therefore sir, the center cannot take this step without bringing all the state governments on the table. And therefore sir, any such step would have to bring all the states on the table, and if a consensus is formed that a liquor ban can be imposed, then only sir, such a step could be taken.
Sir.
Okay, Shesh, before I let you go, supposing you get selected and you're posted in Bihar, in your home district Munger, what are the 5 things that you would like to do in first 3 months?
So the major problems which Bihar and especially the districts where I come from, Munger and Bhagalpur, are facing, sir, are in the terms of healthcare, education and delivery of public services. So, sir, I would...
Tell me in order of priority that you will be.
Yes, sir. So my first priority would be education. I would try to the schemes which the government has, various schemes which the government has taken, the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, the Uchitar and Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. I will try to implement them in letter and spirit. My second priority would be health, sir. So, sir, the Ayushman Bharat, as well as seeing that the various health professionals are present and their numbers are adequate to treat all the people, I would ensure that. The third priority would be industries and agriculture, sir. And I would take steps to revive the economy and to ensure that the demand and consumption needs are met.
Thank you.
Thank you.